everyone, Kevin Leonard Giebert here, and welcome to another edition of Rock Your Financial Plan. And this edition I call Life, Moolah, and Lyrics, because we're going over one of the 14 songs on my album, Unlock My Happy. Now, you might ask what Moolah is. It is actually an invented word. It's probably not in the Webster's Dictionary yet, but it's Moolah money and C'est la vie en français, with a tagline of living your life and money on purpose. Your purpose could be your why, could be your passion. And I combine money coaching and life coaching together. And as a financial planner, as a stand-up comic, life coach, and now singer-songwriter, I'm going to be interviewing people about the lyrics. Yes, did you know that there are lyrics in songs? Yes, and until I started listening to until I wrote some lyrics, I was listening to some songs back in the 80s that I knew the lyrics, I knew the tune, but I didn't really hear the lyrics before. And we're going to be going over the lyrics of each song. This episode is What If I Live That Long? And we'll be talking about the background of this song, but the Coles Notes version is on a piece of paper. One day I wrote down all the chapter titles of my book, Financial Photographs, How to Talk to Your Family About Money, added a few rhymes in there, and really focused on the chapter of my great-grandmother that lived to 107. And she used to call me Seven because she couldn't say Kevin. So 7, Kevin, and 107 rhymed. And I wondered, everyone's asking, well, what if I do live that long to 107? The sayings before, the days outlive the money each month and so forth. And I'm all about thinking of dreams when you're at the end of your life rather than the what ifs. So today we're going to talk about What If I Live That Long, one of the songs on the album Unlock My Happy, found on Spotify, iTunes, and digitally wherever wherever music is sold. Let's get to the interview. Talk to you soon. Hey everyone, it's Kevin Giebert in another edition of Rock Your Financial Plan. But this edition is the Life, Moolah, and Lyrics, because we're talking about my album, Unlock My Happy, with the one, the only Lindsay Harle-Kaddatz from Calgary. Hello, Lindsay.
Hey, hello, Kevin.
Do you know why I wrote this album?
I'd love for you to tell me.
Okay. The album was supposed to just be one song back in the day, and it grew to 14.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was all about Mr. Moolah. We're going to birth your money story, which is song number 1 on the album. But today we're talking about What If I Live That Long? And it's a story about my book, actually. One day I wrote my book that was published like 7 years ago. I looked through the table of contents and I said, hey, let's write a song. So I wrote down the lyrics, and one of the chapters that I focused on was my great-grandmother, who lived to 107.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me Seven because she couldn't say the consonant K for some reason. So Kevin, 7, and 107. That's a great rhyme.
That is a great rhyme.
Yeah, it's in there. And if my great-grandmother was still here, I'd thank her for calling me Seven, because here's the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so let's, Lindsay, who is Lindsay?
Oh, who is Lindsay?
Exactly. You are my special guest.
Thank you. Who's Lindsay? Well, Lindsay, me. I am a mind management trainer for quirky entrepreneurs and creatives, and I help them really do business their way by digging into their values and turning that into their voice and their mindset, and just gaining traction through the right actions for them. That's me in a wee nutshell. like you, I'm an author. I'm also a mental health advocate and speaker and all that super fun jazz. And Lindsay just loves puns too. So I think that's why you and I connect, because we
Yeah.
often pun together.
Yeah, exactly. Because I guess Mr. Moolah Doula is that a pun? Doula? You know?
Yes,
You
it would be.
you birth money stories?
Birthing money. Of course it would be. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, if we were talking about that song, I'd be in my scrubs right now because I do have scrubs.
But no scrubs today.
No scrubs today. No, because we're talking about, you know, an important person. I think my grandmother, about age 12 is when she passed away. So many years ago. But I remember visiting her, and she was she had glaucoma towards the end of her life. So I really remember her just listening, you know,
Yeah.
because she couldn't see us. But, you know, a lot of longevity. You know, 107 back when you're 12 years old, that's holy macro.
Yeah.
And now it's just, you know, it's not
right around the corner.
I'm almost halfway there.
Oh my goodness.
So, but before we go, before further ado, let's jump into what if I live that long? And when we come back, we're going to talk about Lindsay's top 5 verses of the song. So, Lindsay, why don't we listen to the song?
I cannot wait.
My great grandma called me 7 'cause she just couldn't say Kevin. She lived to be 107. What if I live that long? Many times in life we wrestle decisions with what to do. It is much more than a cap and gown, that ceiling you may want to break through. I like to ride the roller coaster. Fun are the ups and scary are the downs. There are many things in life we go through. I need my feet on solid ground. My great grandma called me 7 'cause she just couldn't say Kevin. She lived to be 107. What if I live that long? What can I do? 'Cause I don't want my life to be a lemon. What if I live that long? I want to call in retired. What if the numbers don't match? Is the risk too much to be taken? Does another plan have to hatch? When I go out for a drive, I get to the intersection. The light will be green, amber, or red. Do I need to make a split decision? My great grandma called me 7 'cause she just couldn't say Kevin. She lived to be 107. What if I live that long? What can I do? 'Cause I want my life to be a wonderful expression. What if I live that long? What if I could have? What if I would have? What if I should have? Is it a life I love? Making decisions on a teeter totter, or having to move the ducks around. Can't wait for the paycheck to get here. Don't want the debt as I always feel drowned. Run the race and you may fail. Walk the course and you may succeed. Save for a rainy day. I need to know how much I need. My great grandma called me 7 'cause she just couldn't say Kevin. She lived to be 107. What if I live that long? Life is an art of balance. You need a plan that is strong. Leave a legacy of wisdom. What if I live that long?
Welcome back to Life, Moolah, and Lyrics, the Rock Your Financial Plan. Yes. And Lindsay, what did you think about the song? Other than its Grammy material.
I mean, I was going to say, I absolutely, not just this song, but I love your album. It's very catchy. It gets into my head a lot. What did I think about the song, though, is I think it's a great way to start raising questions that we just don't even think about. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have top 5.
Yes.
Not in any particular order.
No.
Yeah, but no, I like the number 5. That's really it is lasting.
Yes.
It's good number 5. So we'll start off my cheat sheets here, but we'll list number 1 is, well, Lindsay, what if I live that long?
Yeah. So I know it's the title of the song, but goodness gracious me, it's what jumped out, because I have literally never thought, well, what if I do live that long? We're always taught, you got to plan, you got to plan, you got to plan. But, well, what happens if we outlive how long we have planned for? Then what? And this is a conversation that's been coming more into my world, probably because I'm getting older. But
well, you're not a year past 29. Don't worry about it.
well, thank you. I am by a decade, but that's okay, because it's appreciated every decade. But in the conversations that I have with my clients, even particularly within the branding field, I support a lot of these family businesses who are in generational transition, and they often forget to actually think that one day so and so may not be here.
Yeah.
Well, what happens then? Or so and so may be here a lot longer than anyone planned, and then it's like, okay, well, so what if I live that long? And then that brings about this whole other question of, well, do I want to be doing this that long? Do I want to be like, who do I actually want to be? And am I doing that? Am I living that way now? And why do I have to wait? And so it's just this question that started to kind of trigger some things for me as to, well, if I do live that long, how do I want to live it?
Yeah.
So I think it's a powerful question that is not asked.
Because I think it's monetarily, because of course, the whole saying, more days than money left in the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's more of a cash flow and so forth. But also, if you retire at a certain age, what are you going to do? Like I talk to my clients, like, are you going to golf?
No.
And it's not, it's an example. It's not like I'm going to go on the golf course, what's my golf? What's your golf?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you're retired longer than you work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then are you going to, live your life? You don't know how healthy you're going to be, right? So I usually say to clients, okay, what age are you happy that you are only going to live on your pensions, government, and so forth? And then that kind of, you reverse engineer things, right?
Yeah.
But my mother, unfortunately, she came down with cancer and she passed away at 65. And so another song has a lyric, hopefully at the end of your life or end of your days, is that you're thinking about memories, not what ifs.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is that, you say, oh, I'm living too long or whatever. But, you got to put your support team in place, your family. And yes, you got to be smart about your money. But at the end of the day, too, is that, when you leave this earth, you're not leaving with money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And I think it's that whole idea of, yes, you want to have the comfort, the money, the income to support you in living long, the longness that you want, whatever. But what then is that looking like for you? So are you healthy? Are you investing in your health? Are you investing in your mind? Are you investing in your connections, in your community? And are they also doing the same? Because if you're living that long, and I can remember, my grandmother, one of the things is she would just sit there, but she got fairly active, but she would always say, she was outliving all of her friends at the end of the day. And so it's, well, who's going to be living with you at that age? And so there's this whole other conversation over and above the investment piece that I think this one question triggers for a lot of individuals.
Yeah. And I think it's the memories versus the what ifs is a good segue into number 2. Is it is I coulda, woulda, shoulda. Is it a life I love?
Yeah. That one really struck me too, because I myself have been running my own business since 2011. And a huge piece is that is because I wanted to live a life I love. Yeah. Now I'm still figuring out what that is, what this all looks like. It's still stressful from day to day. However, prior to that, I was in a Big Four, working in a marketing department of one of the Big Four accounting firms. Had I stayed, because I thought that's what I should have been doing with my life. Had I still been there, I don't think I would have had any of the life, any of the experiences, any of the courage that I've been able to develop and walk into over the past decade. So it's really that, well, do we, at the end of the day, get to set the terms for our own life, but it has to be a conscious decision, and we get to determine what that is. And is it all money-based?
Yeah.
And I think this is a conversation that a lot of individuals are starting to understand now, because it's, well, this is a life that had been determined for me, but I only see misery ahead. Yeah. And that's not a life I want. And that's, for those who have kids, that's not typically the life that they then want to model for their kids. And I hear that a lot from, my friends and colleagues now who have children, that they're doing things so that they are modeling how to live a life that they can be happy in and succeed in on their own. And so there's this whole different conversation that's happening, as no longer can we have coulda, woulda, shoulda lives. We get the opportunity to understand, well, what is my life and how will I go about it?
Yeah, because one thing I'm really passionate, bringing back the Mr. Moolah doula thing. Yes, it's funny, a little punny kind of thing, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't know your money story, then how can you live your life to the fullest, right?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, money creates a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And if you're in a relationship where one person is a spender, one's a saver, one has a viewpoint of this, one has a viewpoint of that, outside of the kisses and the hugs, you have to sit down and you have to have conversations. And that often is the deal breaker, right? And I always say that marriages seem to be, the wedding is expensive, right?
Some weddings.
But what I'm saying is the wedding is not expensive. It's the divorce that's expensive. Right? So so that's in the conversation too, is that oftentimes is that you don't start thinking about the money side until years into marriage, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you're going to unlock your happy, let's say, and be in a relationship that is your soulmate and that sort of thing, is that sometimes that second marriages. And that's where a lot of the conversation comes in too, right? So because I woulda, shoulda, coulda in my last marriage, or I learned from that, so now I want to make sure that it's the life I love, right? So back in elementary school, I was a sprinter. And I won some awards, because, out of one person, you're going to win the race, right? But number 3 on your list is run the race and you may fail, walk the course and you may succeed, meaning that running is not always the answer when it comes to life. because, let's smell the roses, that sort of thing, right? So how do you see, sometimes you're running the race, sometimes you're walking the course, where do you kind of fit in?
I pace. So because I'm a runner, that's probably why this lyric stood out to me. But I think it's not always necessarily run or walk. It's understanding what pace when. So what understanding in where you're going, and at what points do you need to sprint? At what points then do you need to recharge and grab the drink off the table and eat some orange slices and then continue forth? And just what is that pace that you are comfortable at? Because I'll make that very clear, is we're running our own race.
Yes.
And we have to run our own pace. So, and this is very hard, particularly if you're a competitive individual, is, are you running your race or are you running someone else's race? And if you're running someone else's race, then you are absolutely going to fail, to be very blunt. If you're walking your race, well, are you going as far as you know that you can? Now, that's not a bad thing to be walking, because there's always times to walk, because sometimes we just need to recoup. But it's also understanding that, life is a very long race. So you just have to pace it. And when you pace yourself at your pace, because I'm also a very slow runner, and I run at a very slow pace for long distance. Actually, that's not true. I am a sprinter in running and sprinter in swimming. So I've really had to learn how to properly pace to do the distance.
Yeah.
And that means slowing it right down. And so it's really understanding, okay, well, what is my pace for success? Rather than do I run or do I walk? It's what is my pace and what does that look like over the different periods and different seasons of my life?
Because usually, not usually, but once in a while in life and as an entrepreneur, is that we're walking and then we feel like we have to run, because if we walk, we'll never get there.
Well, and we almost feel guilty as well.
Yeah. Or in the time frame, right?
Yeah. Well,
So,
and that's a great question, is, what is the right time frame for success? And that then all comes back to, well, who am I? What is it that I'm actually wanting to achieve? What do I need for that? When can I start to set that up? What is that pace for me?
Exactly.
And starting to not put the blinders on, but putting the blinders on from other people.
Yeah.
But not the blinders on from your life.
Yep. Yeah. Because the thing is that, when I'm working with financial plans and all that stuff, if the client has the blinders on and doesn't let me know everything, then I can only work with what I see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with walking, I want to enjoy life, but racing, well, I want my workday to end. That sort of thing.
Yes.
Right.
Just get it over with.
Exactly. So usually when you're running too fast and not walking, you may run into a rainy day. And I remember this great picture of my kids, and they're huddled underneath an umbrella, and I use that for the chapter about saving for a rainy day. And but the emergency funds, and that's really what this question or this lyric is: to save for a rainy day, I need to know how much I need. So how much do I need to last today, this month? How much do I need as a estate plan, when I'm going to leave people and that sort of thing, right? So usually it's 3 to 6 months salary is textbook, right? But you and I probably do know that life is not in a textbook.
What?
Textbook knowledge is not the only thing. Experiences, personal preferences, that sort of thing, right? Risk. All that comes into saving for a rainy day. And some people might think that, let's save for a sprinkle, and then let's save for a flood. That sort of analogy, right? So what is a rainy day? Because it's usually a snowy day in Calgary. But
We do have rainy
here
days,
in
but
Vancouver, you know,
yeah, it's definitely a snowy day today. But
yeah,
for me, I think for me, this lyric really jumped out simply because we're in this time of everything's going to be okay. Always think positive, be positive, but life throws us these what ifs. And I know that had we not planned for what ifs, we would have been hurt quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so fortunately we have what if plans, and that's what that rainy day is for. And how do we get that, and how we were able to get that prior and in place prior to us needing it.
yeah,
So for me, it's just that, you know, life, yeah, it can be sunshine and rainbows. However, there's that lovely Dolly Parton quote of, you know, to get the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain. And so it's just planning to be realistic. That's what that is. Be realistic, because yeah, life can be beautiful, but plain and simple, life also gives you up and downs.
yeah,
And so you have to be prepared for those downs so that you can enjoy the ups and not have to struggle for the up.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that was really, I think, what hit home for me, is that reminder of, oh yeah, you know, just life is realistic.
Yeah.
Life's not easy, and whoever told us that it was lying. However, we can make it easier on ourselves simply by being proactive, with our own risk comfort,
Yeah,
because that's different for everyone.
yeah, yeah. And so we're not running to the end of the rainbow, right, to get that gold in case we don't have that rainy day fun.
And we
right?
can play in the rainbow, right? And we can
Yes.
play in the puddles, and we forget that in the rain there's still play.
Yeah, yeah. So you said very important word there, we, right? And I think when if you're single, or if you're married, or partner, or whatever your personal situation is that if there's more than one in the picture, then you know there's more than possibly an answer. It might be a mathematical equation.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And again, you know, textbook is only textbook, but it's very important to talk. And that was, we'll get to your book at the end of the interview, but you know, that was my book, Financial Photographs, How to Talk to Your Family About Money, is because, you know, we really didn't talk. We got everything we wanted and needed and more, but you know, we never talked about it, right? But that, again, that's another generation, right? So
well, yeah, I mean, I know, I honestly don't know why, but prior to my hubby and I getting married, we also lived together, which is very common now. But it became very clear very on that we were going to be having to be open and honest and talk about money, and it was never off the table.
yeah,
So we were fortunate to have those conversations before we even got married.
Yeah.
And I think that came from my parents as well, just being open and honest with me, not what they made or how they made it.
Yep.
All legal. But it was just, you know, Sunday night dinners. I remember sitting around the table having conversations about everything with my family, and just kind of having that inkling of understanding. And I can also remember my mom saying to me, you know, it's important that you and your sister, I have an older sister, are able to look after and care for yourselves and understand this information. You know, and that always stuck with me of, you know, it's my responsibility to know what's in the bank account. And if I'm living with someone and am investing in a life with them together, then it's also their responsibility to be open and honest with me as I'm open and honest with them. And, you know, because we all hear it, so many marriages often dissolve because of a lack of communication, because of a values misalignment in money and finances. And what does that look like? And it just was something that was put on the table very early on for us, fortunately, so that there were no surprises.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Right. But we're
but
we
if
have our
there's
separate accounts.
surprises,
Yeah.
if there's surprises in the sense of, the economy goes down or you lose a job or whatever, as long as you're ready for that.
Yeah.
And you have that
Yeah.
rainy day.
Yeah.
Rainy day fund
Mm-hmm.
to help you along that. Have the umbrella.
Yeah. To have the, yeah. You live in BC, and I just got back from visiting my parents in Victoria, and you may not need the umbrella that day, but chances are you might, even if it's sunny out. So you bring it with you just in case.
Yeah.
And then it's there when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't ruin your hair.
Well, look at this, But you see in Calgary, you have Chinooks, right? So you gotta just have everyone should have like a backpack with every, Inspector Gadget. If you remember.
We do. Yeah, we do.
You remember Inspector Gadget, or am I?
Oh yeah, I would eat my Cheerios before school watching Inspector Gadget and Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, Inspector Gadget,
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. So one of the things that I went through an experience or an exercise many years ago where it was a dark room and we all lied down and separately, like yoga mats kind of thing. And the people that were organizing it told us our obituaries. And it was interesting. And it was basically, they were passing everything they knew of us in our group, right? It was a mastermind coaching group, right? So everyone knew everybody, right? So, but it was quite the interesting experience, right? And so it's an exercise that I have clients through, and I might even write my own song for my obituary. I mean, my funeral,
Yeah.
Ha ha, let's go. Another one bites the dust. But anyway, Queen reference for all you, people that don't know Queen.
I knew it.
Yeah. So it's not like it's a new joke. It's just
no, it's not.
It's not. Yes. Edit. But yeah. So it's basically the number 5 is leave a legacy of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, everyone, you part of the will, and get your will, people, and your power of attorneys. Your will is usually, okay, how much money?
Yeah.
Right. And usually a lot of, people now are, doing their estate planning while they're living, meaning that they're gifting the money as they live so they can enjoy seeing the recipients of that enjoy their life. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, wisdom does not have a price tag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's good, or wisdom from meaning positive wisdom, but from experiences of, I experienced that, don't do it again. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that sort of thing. So, what kind of legacy have you thought about the wisdom that you'd like to leave,
Have I thought about the
you?
legacy?
Well, you're passing legacy. You're passing wisdom every time I talk to you. So
I'm passing something. That's for sure. Honestly, so for me, so 2 things. First, I think this specific statement stuck out to me of leave a legacy of wisdom, simply because of a number of financial planning clients that I have. Their clients are often put caveats on, I'm going to gift this to so-and-so, on the understanding that they come to you to learn and educate themselves prior to having access to what I leave them. Which I think is brilliant, because it's that education piece of, it's not money. I mean, it is, but it's so that it's not then squandered, so that you can live, so that you can enjoy it, so that you can pay proper taxes or skirt around some tab, right? All that jazz, which to me is the gift. It's not the money itself, it's the knowledge, so that those behind us don't have to go through the struggles that we've gone through. Now, my personal legacy is not financial. I think what I am striving for at this point in my life of leaving is just a world that's a little more understanding and kind and open, simply because of what I'm passionate about and my own journey and experience, particularly within the realm of mental health. And I want to make the world a more understanding, open place for my nieces, for my nephews, so they can be whoever they want to be, so they don't have to fit into a box.
Yeah.
So they don't have to hide who they are. Or, they'll have their own struggles, but why should they have to have the same ones that I had, when I can say and provide some guidance and give them some tools?
Exactly.
And that's really the legacy that I'm wanting to leave, is be kind.
Yeah.
And you're amazing as you are, and you are just worth, because you are enough.
Yeah, because I, as a financial planner, I see when people pass away, and then the lawyer becomes the new beneficiary
Mhm.
of the estate, because there's all this squabbling and fighting and all that stuff. And if the mom, the dad, the aunt, and the uncle, whoever, sat down, there's family dynamics and everything. We all understand that. But if they actually, your idea of them, your clients, getting their clients to sit down with their beneficiaries and talk to them about it, that's just perfect, I think.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And with a number of the family businesses I support, when they're in that generational transition, it's coming to the table and having that conversation.
Yeah.
And what a number of them realize is they're saying the same thing. They're saying it, though, in their own way, in their own language, and often because they've heard each other speak, that they've stopped listening.
Exactly.
So it's, you put a third party on the table and you kind of just listen and you ask questions back, and they come to the realization of, we're saying the same thing. We weren't listening to one another.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the same goals. We just weren't understanding. We were just using different language.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as for me, for a financial planner, a big chunk of it is being a counselor.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
golly gosh,
like
yeah.
a counselor.
Like
right?
a counselor. Well,
But-
there's a whole song in and of itself, my friend.
Exactly. But there's nothing about counseling or personal psychology or whatever in a textbook, right? But that's the textbook is all about the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm even looking at adding, counseling or some aspect to my practice, because really the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
About because life costs money, unfortunately.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need money to live, or you could create some more stress. So what is that amount? Only that person knows, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think what's also important is that what was the amount for one generation may not be the amount for another, simply because of the different values of the different generations.
Exactly.
And that's important to understand.
And housing, for instance,
Oh, frick.
A house is a different definition these days than it was for our folks, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. And that sort of thing. And then retirement too, is that pensions.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not as prevalent as it was back in the day for our folks and our grandparents. Right? Most of our grandparents living on a pension, right? And that sort of thing. So leaving a legacy, of course. My mother did genealogy. So, that's who's who and, that sort of thing. But you don't hear the stories.
Yeah.
Right? Unless they're passed down, right?
Yep.
The wisdom, right?
Yes.
And usually, well, not usually, but, you think in this day and age, who's the smartest is, usually who has the most money, right? But from a celebrity kind of perspective, right? But the thing is that you don't know how much it costs to get there.
Yeah.
And sometimes the cost is time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
time you can't buy back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And time is often wisdom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not money.
No, and that's a great point, is what's the cost?
Yeah.
What is the cost? And the cost is not always $1. And I
No.
think that's a beautiful point to hit. Beautiful point, Kevin.
Yeah.
No.
Because the thing too is that the analogy is that, or one of the examples is like, you see people winning money at the casino, right?
Yep.
Oh, I won $1,000, but how much did it cost you?
Yeah.
You don't tell those stories, right?
Nope. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And usually some of that wisdom is hard to tell too. And it takes time to talk about that. And sometimes that wisdom doesn't come until a life is lived too. Right?
Wisdom rarely comes until it's lived.
Yeah, exactly. So the lyric should really be leave a legacy of wisdom. Well, live a legacy of wisdom.
Ooh.
Right? Maybe I should change the lyric. But
no, I think leave a, but I think
no, I'm just saying is that as I'm looking at it is like, well, technically you don't want to wait to the end because you don't know when the end's going to be. So, why don't you plant those seeds, right? Because, I'm not a gardener, okay, but, I've had this great idea of writing this one song and, 18 months later, it turns into 14. If I wouldn't have wrote that first song and planted that seed, and I have done gardens and I've done sunflowers and those things, once they hit 8 feet, I'm going, what on earth did I do? But I did plant that seed and I did see that little baby frog on a leaf one day, which was a great picture.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing when it comes to leaving a legacy of wisdom, is that it's up to us.
I think one of the most amazing things that my grandmother did prior to her passing, and she lived to 96, is she wrote family stories. And so my sister, my cousins, my mom and my aunt, my uncle, we all have these huge binders full of her stories of our family history and history we would not have otherwise, and we would never have known. And, she was a happy woman to talk, but rarely were they as succinct and as eloquent as the stories and the poetry that she wrote. And that to me is a priceless thing that she gave. And it's her wisdom and it's her knowledge and it's where we come from.
Yeah.
And that to me is just a legacy that I'm honored to have and will continue to carry it with me forever.
Yeah.
Until I'm gone.
Yeah. Because I used to be a pain in the butt to my mother back in the day before digital cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And because she'd always take 1, 2, 3 pictures. Oh, Kevin, you didn't smile, da 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 da, right? But back when I wrote the book, I have a copy. Yay! I had to use those pictures that my mom did, so I had to publicly apologize to her. So that's it's cool to look back those pictures and when she passed away, my dad gave us all kids the binders that she put together of all our childhood of pictures, right? So it was, I haven't looked at it lately, but it's one of those things that pictures tell 1,000 words or even more, right? And it's just that now with digital, I think my mom probably was the pension plan for one of the picture developers because, had to get triplets. All those microfiche and all the dark rooms with the whatever, right? So
awesome.
Exactly. So so we've done our top 5 already. Where does time go? But
that is another song title.
Exactly. Where does time go? But before we do leave, tell us about your book.
Yeah. So my book is not a financial book at all. It is called Depression, Constipation, How Pooping Saved My Sanity and Other Stories. And really, it is, I really should not say tongue in cheek, but I do. It's a tongue in cheek way of helping individuals understand what depression is in terms of constipation, because for whatever reason, it's easier to talk about pooping and being constipated, and there's less judgment on it than there is on depression. And when I was first starting to date my husband, well, now partner, then partner, boyfriend, now husband.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's probably the, yeah.
Yeah. He didn't understand depression, and
Mhm.
he just thought, as many people do, that it was just someone being sad.
Mhm.
And, well, I'm just going to try and cheer you up.
Yeah.
Not fully understanding that, no, that's not what depression is. And so that's what the book goes through. And it kind of does this tongue-in-cheek way of, well, you know, things like sometimes you have a distended belly when you're constipated. Sometimes you have distended reality when you have your depression. I get a stutter often when my depression is kicked to the max.
Mhm.
And, you know, when you're constipated, you get some little stutters from your butt. So it's just this way of making it easier to talk about, easier to understand. And then, of course, there's some funny stories in there that through my own journey, how did I move through it? And here's some things that you can do. And I definitely highlight, this is not a professional self-help book. If
Mhm.
you yourself are struggling, go and seek professional help.
Exactly.
However, this is one way to start understanding it and to remove that stigma
Mhm.
that when someone says depression, everyone goes,
Yeah.
it's, oh, depression. Okay, well, here's what it is.
Yeah.
And you can laugh about it
Exactly.
without making light of it.
Yeah.
So,
So where, other than scheduling a time at the Calgary International Airport to meet up with you, where else on the World Wide Web and everything can we find you? And
yeah.
yeah.
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Quirky Lindsay Harle, and or on LinkedIn at Lindsay Harle-Kaddatz. And that's where I am. Website is quirkylindsayharle.com. You have to sing it when you're typing it in.
Okay.
And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And
do you require audio emails, texts too, to prove that you're singing it?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's a sing song, you'll just make my day.
Exactly. So, well, thank you very much, Lindsay. We'll have your information, of course, at the end in the credits and below here. And it was great to talk with you once again.
Yay. It was lovely chatting with you, Kevin.
Yes.
I always smile, and I learn so much from you every time.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. And what, you know, at the end of the day, we'll keep on talking about what if we live that long?
Mm-hmm. With excitement.
Excitement.
Yeah. Without the fear of, what if I live that long? But
exactly. What if I live that long? 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 You know, all those things.
Yeah.
So
all tonalities.
Lindsay, what if we live that long?
Yeah.
See you later.